My favorite
Always wrong.
was you were talking about the olives, the blue cheese, and they were on a stick, battered, and
Well,
they were so good.
but, well, it
Sounds
fried. Exactly. You can't help it. All right, I've got 5 p.m. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If you will, please join me in the invocation and the pledge. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time we can come together and do our county's business. Ask you to just be present with us tonight, guide our hearts and guide our minds to make the best decisions for our community. We ask a special hand of protection over our law enforcement, our first responders, and those who serve in the military at home and abroad, and keep us safe so we can just live our lives in peace. I ask you to bless everything we do here tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you for coming out tonight. You have several opportunities to participate with us. We have a citizens to be heard at the beginning of the meeting. We have another one at the end. You can speak on either of those of your choice. You can also speak on each individual agenda item. If you will, please fill out a speaker card with Miss Jessica for each item that you would like to speak with. And when you come up, give us your name and your address. We do have folks watching at home, so if you're speaking in that microphone, they'll be able to hear what you're saying as well. We have a motion to approve the agenda with the exception of, Mr. Chairman, I talked to staff. I'd like to pull item 20 off the agenda. We've already voted on that. It was a unanimous decision, and there's no need to rehash it all over again. And staff concurred, right, staff? Okay.
Nothing's changed since the last time that was...
Yeah, nothing's changed. So 20, you're talking about just pull it off and all the way off for discussion. We've already decided that issue. Okay. And I'd like to pull, go ahead. Item 10. Item 10.
you pulling it?
For discussion. Moving to business. And I'm going to pull for discussion item 3 and 7. So 3, 7, 10, and cancel item 20. Any other changes? That's my motion. Okay, do we have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimous. All right, citizens to be heard. None for the first one. Awards and presentations, we have none. Approve consent. Motion to approve the consent. Do we have a second? Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move into the items that were pulled. Item number 3, I'd like to pull that just for discussion. If we're going to do an additional paid holiday, I'd rather see us do Emancipation Day on May 20th than Juneteenth. That would be my preference. Now, I'd also like to consider that right now we have 3 holidays that we have paid vacations more than the federal government does. And they celebrate Columbus and we don't. So we don't follow everything that the federal holiday list follows. And so we just increased taxes and paid for nice, well-deserved, substantial pay raises for our county. So if we approve another day off, that's additional burden to taxpayers. Staff does a great job, and I appreciate it. They deserve it. But like I said, we already have 3 more days that the feds are not celebrating. And so I can't make a motion. If anyone wants to entertain that, that would be great. If not, I will pass the gavel and make a motion.
So you're wanting to switch the days, or you're wanting to do away with the holiday?
Well, I think if we add another one, we should pull one off. I think we should take something off the list now, because I don't think we need to have 4 more holidays than the federal government has.
Which one are you suggesting swapping?
Well, my preference would be let's leave it as it is, because we're already giving three additional holidays that the feds don't have. And so my preference would be let's leave it alone. But if we're going to switch it, I would say let's switch it to Emancipation Day and let's either remove, I don't know, the day after Thanksgiving or the day after Christmas.
So those are the non-federal holidays you're referring to?
And also, we give days off for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So those 3 days.
What does the state do? Does this mirror the state, or,
No, this is historically what the county has done on its own.
but not the new holidays, not?
The new
Is this-
holiday is federal.
Is the state off that day?
I can't answer that question.
I don't know, I couldn't find that, but the state does recognize Emancipation Day.
Is the state off both days?
I couldn't find that the state is off on Juneteenth. I mean, it just came out last year, and if they do, I don't know the answer.
The better question, is the school system off?
It's the summer.
So, the summer, it doesn't make any difference to the school system.
Well, I mean, the federal holidays are New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Day, Washington's birthday, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, Independence Day, Labor Day, Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day. So what you're saying is we don't need to add another holiday because we get off 2 days at Christmas and 2 days at Thanksgiving.
And 2 days of New Year's.
And 2 days at New Year's.
Yeah. I don't think we do. That's just additional cost with no work, no work would happen. Not only that, it's not just the cost, but if you've got flex staff, you got to pay them more on holidays. That would be my preference. If someone wants to make it, if not, I'll pass the gavel and I'll make that motion.
I mean, I'll be glad to make the motion to not recognize the holiday, or to not be off, or for people to recognize it, whatever. What would you like the motion to say? Are you okay with not flip-flopping?
I say, my motion would be, let's keep the calendar like it is. I would certainly encourage the county administrator, if someone wants to take off on Juneteenth or Emancipation Day, then, preference be given to that. But I don't think we need to have another unpaid or another paid holiday for staff.
The easiest motion
At
is
this
just to
time.
leave it the way it is.
Leave it the way it is.
That's your motion, Quincy?
Sure, Randy, that's my motion, to leave it the way it is.
We have a motion and a second.
And approve the BOCC meeting calendar?
Yes.
Yes.
Both of you accept that. Do we have any citizens that would like to speak on that? Further discussion from the board?
I do have discussion with regard to spring break. So is it going to be back-to-back, Jessica?
No.
No.
We leave it like it is, it'll be good.
Okay.
It'll be coincide with the school system?
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
So either we need to talk about that, or do we all have it? I know that we have it on here.
So the spring break is the 21st, March 21st through the 25th.
March 21st through the 25th.
Certainly easier for the citizens if it coincides with spring break, I think.
So what will we do? We would
I'm sorry, coincides with the school system is what I meant.
Yeah, but the question is where we'll move our meeting, and our meeting is basically the 1st and 3rd, and everybody's used to that, and you get all confused if we change that. And so, unless somebody has a personal reason they want to change it,
I don't personally, but I wouldn't vote on a personal reason, but sometimes citizens may be out of town because of spring break, because their kids are out of school, and they can't do both.
When is spring break again?
21st through the 25th, March.
March happens to have 1, 2, 3, 4 Mondays in it, right? You could move it to the 28th, right?
You would,
then you have one
you would have
back-to-back.
back-to-back meetings, because your next meeting in April is April 4th.
My kids are moved out, so. Taking me a long time to be able to say that.
I'm fine with the schedule the way it is.
Okay, any further discussion? Hear none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously. Item number 7, the only reason I pulled that is for the public, that is a citizen that is receiving down payment assistance from the SHIP program. My wife happens to be the loan officer that this citizen is working with, and so there's a benefit to my household, and so I will not be voting on this item. And I have filed the form with Kelly.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second, any citizens?
None.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 4-0. Next, Commissioner Hess, item number 10.
Yeah, this is, I was trying to ask Randy about this. Basically, you're our representative on the ARPC, And I was looking at some of the projects that they have under this, and some of them just don't make any sense at all to me. And are we going to get input into those projects as they come forward? Because I can't see spending $40 million on an airport in Apalachicola. So that's, that's the kind of thing that just, I can't see a financial...
I'm sure it's not fleshed out yet. From reading it, they're applying for some huge grant that's very competitive, apparently.
Correct, that's correct. It's in two phases. The first phase will be a technical assistance grant that will come to the region if they like the proposals that are being put forward. The second phase of it will actually be funding those different projects within it. So there's 3 to 5 different projects within this one technical assistance request.
I'm sure there'll be lots of input.
Well, that's my thing. Are you putting input, have you given input? Are we willing to give input?
Every time I've seen it.
Okay, because that's my concern. We need to make sure that we're putting forth the best projects and not some that just don't make any sense at all. And the ones I saw, just a couple of them don't make any sense at
And this
all.
is for the entire 7-county
As a
region.
board, we could take a position for or against as they flesh that out. And
Well, I will if that's, this is a more general thing, and I want to, but I want to get it into the discussion before it goes forward, not after they've already proposed it.
It's probably very unlikely they're going to get the grant, but
Well,
there's like 60 entities in the whole country are getting it.
Right. And then that number will be decreased after the technical assistance award to 20 to 30 regional programs.
And by regional, you mean counties that may or may not be next to us? Thank you.
Or in another state. Or in another state.
all right. Motion to approve.
we have a motion and a second. Do we have any citizens? Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes 5-0. That ends our consent items to be pulled. We'll go to general business, item number 13.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this agenda item is part of our ongoing lift station major rehab program. This is for lift station 11 in Panacea, and it requests approval to waive the procurement ordinance and approve the purchase from Martin Construction LLC in the amount of $25,200 for rehabilitation of that lift station.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any citizens? Discussion from the commissioners?
This, again, these are old legacy Panacea lift stations, single-phase grinded pumps. They were a grief 15 years ago, and they're a grief today. They all need to be replaced.
And this will upgrade in the three-phase.
Three-phase and centrifugal pumps, non-grinders.
That's right, yeah. We're seeing tremendous poor maintenance costs.
Like a knife, they just wear out the teeth.
And we replaced them a lot, the old ones.
That's part of our program.
Yeah, they can't rebuild them anymore. These are my pumps from the 80s. I don't know how many times they've been rebuilt.
All right, further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes 5-0. General business, item number 14.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this agenda item requests approval to purchase a 2022 International HX 620 Navistar Day Cab truck for the Otter Creek Wastewater Treatment Facility, the amount of $101,865.46, and approved to dispose of county property. This truck is used to pull the trailer. This is a tractor, day tractor that pulls a trailer that hauls our sludge to Campbellton.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And I did ask David to look at if we can work anything out with Waste Pro, possibly, since they're probably going there anyway. Maybe we could get a little bit better deal, having them have a container.
We're going to check on that. We had not thought about that.
And what's the capacity of this? Because I saw on the agenda item, it takes 2.5 trips to carry it.
Yep, it's a large open in
Probably 40 yards.
40 yard, yeah, it's a big truck.
Okay.
Big, yeah.
30-yard dumpster's big, but this is certainly bigger.
Yeah. Very good. And the 15,000, are you taking it, are they taking it as trade-in, or that was an option?
That's an option. That's an option. And we're going to look at this. We may do this one on there's also a buyback program on this, and we may end up doing that as well, to where every year we rotate it.
That's what we do with the dump trucks, right?
And the grader, that's what we do with the new tractor. We bought a tractor just like this previously, and we'll just every year trade it in, and it's a $10,000 or $15,000 trade-in, and just trade in and get a brand new truck every
We
year.
used to do that with the graders and the
And the graders are coming up next year.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, we handled item 20 previously. We'll go into public hearing, item number 15.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is to request board approval to conduct a public hearing and approve a purchase and sale agreement for acquisition of the certain real property and other assets that are currently owned by the Wildwood Country Club. This is the golf course assets that we have all discussed previously. The purpose of the acquisition is primarily to be able to use that for an effluent discharge, aquifer recharge site with some improvements, but it would also be operated as a golf course.
motion to approve.
I do need to get some information in here. The purchase price is $1.44 million. $1.32 million of that is allocated to the actual land and will be hopefully funded with ARPA funds, which you can use for wastewater utility assets. $120,000 of it is allocated to the equipment, vehicles, and other inventory. There are some agreements in here to maintain certain of their employees for 6 months. And then there is an agreement in going forward to enter into a greens fee agreement because the current property owner is keeping the RV park that is next to the golf course, and it will be pertaining to renters and guests of the RV park. Additionally, you will note on page 2 of your agenda item, there are certain findings that we're recommending that the board make related to use of the ARPA funds for the golf course land acquisition. And so if you would, Commissioner Merritt, would you please include approving those 4 findings in your motion?
I will modify my motion. I read them on the agenda, but I didn't see them in the recommended motion. Basically, it's saying that we can use this ARPA funds, it meets the criteria, basically.
Yep, and
We've determined that it meets the criteria.
You've determined that. We also did run it through the state to get their head nod that they thought it would meet the criteria, and they did agree.
There you go.
My motion.
Motion modified with the 4. And do we have?
You get that?
You got that, Kelly?
What's the new girl's name? Debbie, did you get that, Debbie?
All right, we have some citizens. Mr. Doug Barr.
Who seconded it?
Chuck.
That was...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I recall at the last meeting, there was some discussion about the impact of the effluent disposal on the golf course and the playability. And so after that meeting, I ran through some calculations just to determine what the rise in the water table was going to be. And I think at the time I said that those sands were really, really good in terms of the infiltration capacity and their ability to take water. They were even better than I thought they were because Dave was nice enough to send me some boring work that was done out there by Ardman Associates, a really fine firm. And based on the calculations and their findings, I went through and calculated the rise of the water table and found that looking at range of effluent disposal of about 300,000 gallons a day, all the way up to about 1.2, those sands could take it, provided that the water is distributed over a pretty good large area, but there's 88 acres out there to irrigate on. That's the area that Basketball Diamond determined, which has the same soils as what Ardman looked at, borings that they did. So it looks like to me to be a very, very good site. When I met with Dave, he said there's more borings that need to be done out there, and they certainly need to be. There was only 4 that were done by Ardman, and there's more work that needs to be done. But it surely looks very, very good, and thank you to Dave for negotiating the contract that you had before you, and it's my hope anyway that the commission will vote to proceed with the purchase of that tract. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gil Damon.
Gil Damon, Menard. This is a great purchase. I'm happy to see this moving forward. I think that it's a long time coming. I'm glad y'all got here. I appreciate Administrator Edwards and the work that he's doing to prepare to make sure that the way we spray the wastewater is going to be responsible and done in a way to reduce nitrogen as much as possible to the aquifer. This wasn't necessary, I don't think. I don't think it all had to go down this way. It seems to me that the thing to have done would have been to have done the geotechnical work beforehand. Then we wouldn't have paid $500,000 to former Commissioner Jerry Moore to be where we are now. But nevertheless, this seems to be a great purchase. It's a great amenity to the community, and I hope you all vote for it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Eugene Watkins.
Oh, Jerry. Eugene Watkins, Crawfordville. I also support buying the golf course for the effluent. I think there's a couple of advantages. One, the golf course puts out fertilizer anyway, so if the effluent does have some nitrogen in it, hopefully the golf course will be able to use less nitrogen. Basically, we're not having a gain in nitrogen going into the aquifer. Also, another advantage is that the golf course now has to pump water out of the aquifer, and I'm hoping with the spray fields, they won't have to pump any more water out of the aquifer. They'll just be able to use it as effluent. So I hope you'll vote for this. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Here's the plan, Eugene.
Mr. Phil Peloit. I knew I was going to get that one wrong.
One of many variations.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Phil Peloit. I'm from actually 3874 Coastal Highway, which is Wildwood RV Resort. And I'm not here on the official business for the Park Service. I just happen to work at Wakulla Springs. On a personal note, I thank you for your concern about water quality at Wakulla Springs. I think this is going to be a great purchase to take care of the disposal of the water over there. I think it's going to be, it's good for the spring. But I'm actually here on another note. I'm here as a owner of one of the RV lots over at the RV park. And over the last few years, myself and other parties have purchased properties there as investment properties where we did have golfing abilities on the golf course there. We've had no communication from any of the parties involved on what has transpired, and I heard that there were some things that are in place that were negotiated between the owner and the county is about what amenities that we would still be able to expect as owners of the park, and I just was wondering if the county could address that at some point this evening, or if that's something that's going to happen in the future, just so we know where we stand as property owners. Or we all have long-term 99-year leases on our lots that, not that any of us are going to be around in 99 years, but we'd like to be able to enjoy the golf course at whatever level was promised to us as lot purchasers back over the last couple of years. So hopefully, we hope that it will go through and the county will purchase the golf course. We just kind of wanted to know where we stood as property owners of the RV resort. So I appreciate your time. Thank you, sir. That ends our citizens to be heard. Discussion from the board.
Chuck got his way again.
I think this is the best thing to do with the water, so yes.
It worked itself out, let me say that.
Yes.
It did, the government actually worked.
Very good. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, that ends our public hearings. We will go into planning and zoning, item number 16.
Is this quasi?
It is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 16 is an application for change of zoning, R2118. This is on behalf of Gulf Specimen Marine. This is to a change of zoning from R1 to C4 on a .34 acre parcel of property on 233 Clark Drive. In accordance with the county code, each commission member needs to disclose any contact you may have received from any interested parties regarding this application.
None.
I've talked to Cypress numerous times, but I have never discussed this item.
All right,
So none.
None.
so none. If there's anyone here who's going to provide any information on this application, including the applicant, please stand up to be sworn. Raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Motion to approve. Second. We have a motion and a second. Cypress, would you like to speak on?
You don't need to, you don't have to.
Here for questions if we need it?
Yeah, just there for questions.
Excellent. All right, further discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes, all opposed? Passes 5-0.
Good job, Cypress.
That ends item number 16. We'll go to item number 17, planning and zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an application for a change of zoning R2119. The applicant is Dennis McDowell. This is a change of zoning that would take 11.89 acre piece of property from C2 to CTTP, which is the travel trailer. This subject property is located on the east side of Highway 98 across from the Wakulla County Rec Park and about a half a mile northeast of the high school. In accordance with the code, each commission member needs to disclose any ex parte communications you may have received regarding this application.
No, I don't think so. I got an email from Jerry, but I don't know if he had anything. Jerry Moore had nothing to do with it.
Was it in favor or opposed to the application?
You know, Jerry, I couldn't tell.
Did you read it? Did you read it?
Yeah, I read it, but
Okay.
None.
it's hard to figure out.
None.
None.
I had a couple of citizens approach me, but opposed to it, so that was it.
If there's anyone here who's going to provide any information on this application, please stand up to be sworn. Please raise your hand.
And that includes if you fill out speaker card.
Thank you. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This, as Heather indicated, is a request to rezone from C2 General Commercial to CTTP, which is the county's Commercial Travel Trailer Park Zoning District. This 11.89 acres is located on the east side of Coastal Highway, across from the Meadowlark Recreational Park. Last Monday evening, the Planning Commission considered this application and voted 5-1 to recommend denial based on some variations in the compatibility of this proposed rezoning of the subject property with other existing non-residential uses in the general area. There was also some noted safety concerns related to the rec park's entrance as well as the bike trail. The land use designation for this property is in two parts. 5 acres is zoned commercial land use, while the remaining 6.89 is zoned, has a future land use of rural 2.
That's the future land use. The first part you said was commercial.
Is commercial, which
Future land use
the
commercial.
future land use designation is commercial on 5 acres. This land use does allow for commercial rezonings to take place within a 1-mile distance from a major intersection. However, the remaining 6.89 acres requires that new commercial rezonings be within a quarter-mile of a major intersection. Should the board determine that this property is in compliance and compatible with the adjacent uses and chooses to approve that rezoning, then the board would need to make the finding that the proposed rezoning is compatible with the existing character of the surrounding area and that existing residentially zoned parcels would not be negatively impacted by the rezoning to CTTP.
And that's only to exempt the quarter-mile standard on half the property.
Correct.
The other half, we don't need to make that determination.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Fine, okay. Just want to clarify that.
And that's because the future land use is C2 for the other half already.
Is
Land use
commercial.
commercial.
Yes, sir.
Now, is there any other land in the county that's future land use commercial? Or
There are a couple of other parcels that are throughout the county, but there's not very many.
Very rare.
Any idea when it received that future land use designation?
I don't have the exact date, but if memory serves correctly, it was probably about 12 to 15 years ago.
Who instigated that? I mean, was that in the original comp plan?
That was not part of the original comp plan. That 5-acre portion was owned at the time by the adjacent church.
So the church changed it to future land use commercial?
That's correct.
Oh, okay. Is that it?
I'll be happy to answer any questions. If you'd like, I continue to move on with details about the site. It's currently vacant and undeveloped. It is located within the FEMA flood zone designation of X. Mail notices were sent to adjoining property owners within 1,000 feet, and the advertisement for tonight's public hearing appeared in the Wakulla News on September 30th. Staff is recommending board direction.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll make the second for discussion only.
Motion and second. We have two citizens, Mr. Ross Langford. Welcome.
Ross Langford, Oklaahoma Bay. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Aldridge, which I know he's not going to like what I say because I don't want it's not that I don't want the RV park. It's there's not enough facts on the table right now. Because once he gets the designation for a RV park, there are no county regulations to control it. And I know for a fact that there are two kids living at the county-owned RV park in Newport. They've been there over a year and a half. They're living in a tent. And they go to my wife's school. And there's two kids that are living in the country club that have been there since school started or before. So there is no control once the designation gets put. It's open game. I know for a fact the RV park in Panacea and the McMillan Park on Oklaahoma Bay, they've been residents there for 25 plus years. That's how many years I've been in this county. So it's just not, I don't think, a good thing for putting it next door to a church. Mr. Aldridge does have two other partners, even though when he came to church and explained what he wanted, it sounds great. But there's, like I said, there's nothing in writing, there's nothing before. Like I said, once it gets changed, it's changed. Christ Church didn't change the code. When we bought the church from the Presbyterian Church, they changed the code to C2.
Gotcha.
We would never change it from...
Prior church changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that we bought the church from.
Gotcha.
But that's all I have. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Next, Mr. Dwayne Aldridge.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Purchased a home in Shell Point. I came here fishing. I love being here. I enjoy being here. I do not want an RV park if the people in that church do not want that RV park here. I don't even want to start to try to have something like that with the people of that church if they oppose it. Period. It's not worth it to me for the aggravation for them or anybody in Wakulla County. I'm not wanting to build an RV park for somebody to spend the night there for 25 years. It shouldn't happen anyway. There is regulations, but it's the regulations that I set forth, you set forth. I mean, there's more to it than just two children. But without that church approval, I want no part of it, and most of them are here.
So, what are you saying? You moving forward with your application or not?
I'm moving forward. And as far as I know, to this day and this time, that this church has supported me with this process to move on. And I'm not wanting to build just an RV park where you go cram a bunch of RVs in there or a truck with a camper. I brought you a picture of something I want to show you that we're going to build in Wakulla County, and I'm also prepared to buy the 16 acres next to the 12 acres. So I'm not wanting to build something that just, I'm wanting to make something here that I can spend the rest of my time here, but I can make the county very proud of too. And I know that I can't do anything until the zoning board changes the zoning on it. So there's no sense me pursuing any other fair notice of exactly of all the drawings and all the stuff that we want to do without getting this thing rezoned.
And for the benefit of the public, you will have to come back for site plan approval, list all the details, stormwater, transportation impacts, all of those things.
This is not a very inexpensive project. It's a very expensive project to do this, but I'm not wanting to build an RV park like anything here. Anything. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next, Mr. David Damon, and you will need to be sworn in, sir.
You weren't here when they swore other people in, David. You just need to,
We'll get here and swear you in.
we can swear you in on the fly.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, Art, take it away.
No, that wasn't hard. Thank you, Commissioners. I just want to say, we've got a problem in the county with RV parks already. Quincy's addressed this, I think. She's working on something having to do with that, and we've discussed it. Without code enforcement, we have a real issue with people moving in and staying there, and you'll have no way to get them out after 180 days. They're there, and nothing can be done about it. And it's also really high density, and they pay very little in property taxes. I mean, it's multi-layers to this problem. If you look at where the property taxes are being paid at the other RV parks in the county, for that number of people staying there, they are tapping into the sewer, they are tapping into the water, they are tapping into the fire, the sheriff's department, everything else, and they pay very, very little. And so basically, it's being subsidized by the rest of the taxpayers, is what it boils down to. So until we can come up with a plan that makes sense to regulate these in a way to have code enforcement involved, I think you guys just need to halt going forward on any RV parks in the county at this time. It's just high density development that is uncontrolled. So that's my thought on it. And I'm sure he's going to do a nice job, and he has all those plans, and that's fine, maybe down the road. But right now, we can't regulate it, so I'd say no to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Do the RV parks pay their sewer bill, or they get free sewer?
No, there's a sewer bill sent to the owner if they're connected.
Based on usage?
Mm-hmm.
Same with
Water
water,
consumption.
same with the water?
What if they have a well, though?
David, you're done. Okay, my standard, I'm looking at this is, the code, what the standard review says is that they meet the future land use for this zoning, right? Correct? Other than the distance thing on half the property.
Distance thing on half the
On half the property.
They don't meet the future land.
Correct. But we can determine, like we did with another commercial we just did not too long, I think it was in Woodville, right? We just did one.
There's been a couple.
Well, you thought it was compatible, even though it was further, I think it was unanimous vote too. But anyway, so we have to determine with verifiable evidence that can stand up in court that it's better to leave it C2 than it is to change it to CTTP. Is that correct?
So once they show that they have met all of our code requirements and the comp plan requirements, they have put forward a prima facie case that they're entitled to have it rezoned. The burden then shifts to the county to demonstrate that maintaining the existing zoning
Which is C2.
accomplishes a legitimate
Well,
purpose.
that's not existing, that's the future land use, correct?
C2 is the zoning, the land use.
Currently Z2.
C2.
Okay.
They could put a convenience store there today if they wanted to.
And I don't think we had a printout of all the allowable uses of C2 in the agenda item for that.
I asked about that.
Yeah.
In fact, a little earlier.
Yeah.
What is the example of things they could put there right now?
Yeah, that's my...
Retail sales, office complexes, a dollar store, potentially a bar or even a medical marijuana facility could be going.
The bar there, they couldn't serve liquor, they could
That's
serve
correct.
beer and wine. So,
Okay, hold on, let me finish. The burden then shifts to the county to put forward, you don't have to make findings of fact, but you do, as Commissioner Merritt did mention, have to have competent substantial evidence. That kind of evidence would be things such as if there was evidence of adverse traffic impacts, incompatibility, things like that.
we have found that before when they did that rezoning at the corner of 98 and Spring Creek Highway, I think. We found that they wanted to do a bar there, right? Right, Summer? And we found, traffic concerns because of that intersection, there was a cemetery behind it, and they were, so we denied that rezoning. In this case, I called one of the gentlemen that lives on Lonesome Road that butts up to the RV park in the Wildwood. And he came to every meeting opposed to it. And so I called him, I said, have you had any problems over there? He says, no, not really. He said, they have a 10 o'clock curfew, and I've had to go over there a couple of times over the last couple of years, about 11 o'clock. He said they're always really nice people and very apologetic. But in the case of a church next to it,
I don't think anybody's gonna be at church 10, 11 o'clock at night. Maybe they are, I don't know, but anyway, I don't see any compelling reason to deny a legal change of zoning. It's already commercial, it's C2.
See, I have a different take, is that, look at what the planning commission did, and these are all appointees to evaluate this for our community, and they've turned it down. I look at, this is by a church, it's right by our rec park. There's a lot of slow-moving vehicles going to be coming in and out of there, which creates traffic concerns right there. And then, again, I'm more opposed to approving any more RV parks until we have a way to regulate them. And I can't support one. Once we have regulations and we've told him, these are the rules, if he still wants to go forward, that's a different story. But right now, we don't have a way to regulate him. We haven't set the rules for how he's going to be done, and I don't want to put it on to him after the fact. I want to do it beforehand.
Fair enough, and I think we've discussed this many times about the regulating RV parks.
Oh, and I think this is the third meeting in a row that we keep going back to summer, and she keeps, she's working on it, Evan's working on it in Heather's office. So I don't know what the answer is, but Mr. Chairman, may I ask Mr. Aldridge something?
Absolutely. Please come out of the microphone, sir.
Did you say that if the church was opposed to this, that you wanted to take this off tonight, or indefinite, or can we go back through that again, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If the church next door to where I'm wanting to put the RV park is opposed to me putting the RV park there, I want to take it off the agenda and be done with it.
And be done with it?
Be done with it. Well, there's no sense, look, there's no sense starting a fire, and I don't want to be the guy that light the match. I mean, I just don't want to be it. I want the people around me and the people in this community to be for it. I don't want to, I hate to stand here and say that, the regulations, I don't make the regulations. But I do know this, that what I want to build and put there, Wakulla County will be proud of. I can stand here and tell you this, and he's right. I'm not here to argue with Mr. Hess, but what I want to put here is not what you have here. I want to put something here that you and your people will be proud of. My son played baseball all over the United States. We traveled in an RV to baseball games. One of the biggest reasons I picked the spot where it's at now is because of the sports complex. You know how many people, about COVID, how many people don't stay in motels now, they stay in RVs and motorhomes. This is the reason. I want to put something here because I want to live here, and I want to live here permanently. I want to put something to be proud of.
You see, you had some pictures of what you're wanting to build?
Yes, sir.
You see them?
I'll just look at his.
Thank you, sir.
Can you get one to the clerk, please?
I want to build something that this county is proud of, and I'm proud of, and I'm a stickler. I own a plumbing company. I'm just a regular guy. My wife's a physical therapist, and we want to come here.
I mean, I made the motion to approve this, but we also have to assume you're going to turn around next week and sell it to somebody else. And I understand that, and I understand that's a legitimate concern, but again, I go back to, does it meet the standard? Is it better to be C2? Is there a vested public interest to leave it C2 than change it to CTTP? I don't see it. Wide open road, it's
Well, when I see a vested public interest of not having low-income housing
simply disagree.
spread across the county, and we don't have a way to regulate it, so this could easily become low-income housing.
You can put a strip bar on a C2.
Assuming it's going to be low-income housing. Now, I understand if you're making that assumption, I just don't agree with you. We'll just agree to disagree.
That's why I say, what I want to see is regulations, some way we can regulate these facilities as we move forward. I've been to some great RV parks, but I've also been to some real unpleasant ones.
You sure what's the next one then?
And so, and the reason they were unpleasant is because they had permanent residents.
Well, we just had a gentleman here tonight that said, you wanted Mr. Aldridge?
You done with it?
Yeah.
We're good with you, sir. Thank you.
We just had a gentleman here tonight that has a 99-year lease at a current RV park here. 99 years.
I wasn't on the board when that.
I'm not saying that we were, I'm just saying it's one of those things that we got to consider.
We can't change that. What we have to do is be able to make sure that that doesn't occur into the future.
Well, that's their business model, though. That's what I'm saying. We keep on tiptoeing around this instead of figuring out what to do.
I guess we need to figure out what your desire is for this supposed ordinance.
At another meeting.
You know?
Summer, can I get back to the 6.89 acres? I might have my numbers wrong. Can we go through this with regard to the two parcels again, please?
Yes, so the parcel on the south side is 5 acres, and it has the commercial land use designation. On the northernmost side, the 6.89 has the Rural 2 land use designation.
Both zoned.
They're both zoned C2 general commercial.
They're both zoned C2 general commercial right now today.
Correct.
Okay.
So someone could bring a site plan for anything that's an allowable use under C2, and they would have a full expectation of approval, whether it be, a bar, a restaurant, a marijuana facility, whatever.
So long as they meet all of the requirements in the county's code for site plan approval.
That's the way I approached it. I looked at the list of items, and I said, would an RV park be more intense or less intense? Would it cause more traffic, less traffic? And it seems to me that it's probably much more desirable than a lot of the things that are on that list that would be allowed under C2. And so I plan on voting for it. Further discussion?
I think that what Chuck has said, I agree with this. I know there's one that's already been approved a couple of years ago, which is by the high school. So I know that's coming eventually. That was done. And then, of course, you got the one, so there's no difference in what you've already got there. However, I agree that we need to start coming up with some type of regulation to control somebody living there for 25 years. So, I know we talked about it, like Quincy said, this is the third time, so either we're going to quit talking about it and actually do something about it and quit discussing it over and over and approving them. So,
Well, we've got 3 already approved trailer parks out there that haven't been developed yet. And, at some point, the market's going to be saturated, and the only model he'll have is low-income housing.
Well, I'm not comfortable with continuing to refer to these places as low-income housing. That's the very first thing. I'm not talking about class here. It's not fair to the applicant that he came to our our planning and zoning department to apply for something, and we're still discussing what we're going to do based on a state regulation that we cannot enforce.
cannot control it.
Period. So,
It's not a trailer park either.
who made the motion?
I did.
You made the motion to what?
Prove it.
Both things, get it done, they're both C2.
And does that include the necessary findings with regard to the distancing?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
It's already zoned for it.
That's fine.
We already had a second. All right, who was our second?
It was Quincy.
Yeah.
She double seconded.
Time. She's a double second time.
Good job. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Aye. Passes 4-1. All righty, that ends item number 17. We'll go to item number 18 under planning and zoning.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request for the board's approval of a comprehensive plan text amendment, CP 2107. This amendment creates the property rights element. The board has previously visited this and voted to transmit the proposed text amendment, which is required by state law. This essentially establishes various elements that will ensure private property rights.
Wish to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second, any citizens?
This is another feel-good thing from the legislature, right? This is a feel-good thing to
doesn't change anything.
Clean up.
We all feel good about it, though.
Clean up.
I don't feel good about it. It's pandering to some constituency, and I don't see any point to that. So I have to vote against it.
What would happen if we all voted against it?
I don't know. It'd be a violation of state law. That's right.
You wouldn't be able to process any more comp plan amendments.
Exactly.
But Chuck has the luxury, he knows it's gonna pass. I can vote against it too, it'll be passed through too, Chuck. That's right, you right with you.
We're not here to gamble.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes 4-1. Thank you for the protest vote.
Yes. Oh, it just
Oh, goodness.
half-hearted no. Pandering to the,
Just,
it just annoys me.
Item number 19, planning and zoning.
Yes, this is a request for the board's approval to prepare and advertise an application for change of zoning to amend zoning ordinance 92-6, which would remove the approval conditions from the zoning ordinance. And this item also requests approval from the board for staff to proceed with other similar administrative change of zoning applications.
Motion to approve, this should have never been done in the first place.
Do I have a second?
Second. And there's only 7 of them?
7 or 8 of them.
7, 8 of them.
Total.
No, and this is just fixing the problem that's already been, needs to be addressed.
And you're saying you want to handle the rest of them administratively and not bring them back to the board one at a time?
That's correct. The application for zoning would still come through the regular planning commission and board for approval, but this issue continues to come up every couple of years, and we address them as they come up. So my hope was just to get the board's blessing to move forward with cleaning up each of those areas that need to be cleaned up as staff has time.
Yeah, we have to bring them back to you. The administrative rezoning is just one initiated by the county.
Okay.
My motion stands.
Motion and second. Very good. Any citizens on this one?
No.
Discussion?
Well, it's not a high priority for us, so I hope it becomes, really low on your list, okay?
Well, actually, it is a high priority for the citizen that brought it forward, because
The one item is a high priority, okay, but the rest of them, okay.
Fair enough.
Okay, I got other things that I'd rather have her working on, and I'm hoping that she's
like an RV ordinance.
like an RV ordinance.
Gotcha.
You got that.
All right, further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes 5-0. That ends our planning and zoning items. We have no scheduled commissioner agenda items. County attorney.
Yeah, just one quick reminder, we're getting towards the end of the year. This is for you, Commissioner Merritt. You do need to do your ethics training.
Oh,
I don't need your certificate.
one more time. And don't forget, for our new commissioners, Heather needs a copy of your certificate showing that you took the class. And I choose to fax it, email it, and I put it in her box. And I think I hand-delivered a copy to you. She called me one time from China, because, right, weren't you on vacation, and one of your staff people said I had left some paperwork there for her? She had me from China. Dedicated.
Very dedicated. If you want to give me your certificate, you can put it in the box marked Randy Merritt at the BOCC office.
Anything further?
And make sure her runner comes down and picks it up, too. They love that.
What's there? Nothing else.
That's not necessarily the case. I'm going to steal David's time if that's okay. Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask the board to schedule a workshop for November the 15th at 3:30 to discuss the redistricting process based on the new census data.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any citizens like to speak? That was not an agenda item, but you're welcome to speak.
My birthday's on the 6th. If you want to bring gifts to that workshop, that'd be acceptable.
There we go. Other discussion from the board? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimous. Anything further? All right. Citizens to be heard. Mr. Eugene Watkins.
Eugene Watkins, Crawfordville, and I was just, you guys had discussed the RV and needing some ordinance to control what's going on there. I did hear, sounds like you're going to get somebody working on it. I just thought we were getting ready to leave here and nobody mentioned mentioned what we were going to do, so are we going to try to get that ball rolling?
They've already gone in that direction?
Yeah, because he mentioned... Yeah, that's all, yes, for 3 years, and...
This ball's really rolling.
It's really rolling now. Okay, because I just hate to see us here again in another year in the same situation, so...
Chuck is very diligent with it.
All right, sounds great.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Sue Damon.
Sue Damon, you all know me. I never thought I'd say this. I just said to my son, I think I might actually miss Randy when he's gone.
Oh, you've never said that.
No, I've never said that, but I'm saying it now, and it's on the record. Okay, I wanted to say 2 things about the golf course. One, thank you all very much. I know this is a long battle, and I really, really appreciate you all listening to the science and going to the extra effort and trouble that you went to get the right research. And then 2, when Mr. Snowden and the rest of the world decides to let people know about this golf course, I want them to understand that we are not purchasing a golf course because we as a county want to purchase and run a golf course. And that's going to be a big misunderstanding. This is something we need. And I just want to make sure that we
Need the land, not the golf, not the horses out there.
Exactly. So just the way that we communicate, and I know I'm part of the communication process, but I don't know if we might be able to take out something in the Wakulla news just to really not dumb it down per se, but just to let people know this is not the county with, our taxes all going up. Oh yeah, now we want a golf course. That's not what it is. It's just a need.
You're right, a lot of people will get that perception.
Oh yeah. So anyhow, thank you all.
Very good point. That's a good point, Sue made. I mean, it's like the equestrian center to me. I'm never going to use it. But as long as it doesn't cost money, and David's shown us a business model where it can break even or even maybe make a little money, and I'm fine with that.
If it doesn't, I'm sure our appetite for it is going to go away.
We'll just, if it doesn't, we can simply shut down golf operations and we'll just use it to Springfield.
Exactly.
Exactly. Mr. David Damon.
You have a final word tonight.
Oh, no, I got something to say. He's done.
That's scary.
That's not true. David Damon, Crawfordville. So, we're all glad about the golf course, we think, we hope. We're keeping our fingers crossed on this. Nobody really totally knows, but it's looking good. But I want to back up a little bit, because I think we need to learn something from this. This has been a fiasco from the get-go. From the very beginning of the year, this whole wastewater thing, it's been an example of local government at its very worst. Starting with a lack of public notice, the rush to get it on the agenda and voted on, the purchase from a former county commissioner, the lack of any environmental impact study prior to the purchase, and the utter lack of common sense by the majority of commissioners sitting here tonight. You could have done the most basic of the research that we did and presented over and over again, and we were called all kinds of things for that. But you didn't. Randy, you're an engineer. It was half in a flood zone and full of sinkholes, and I mean, that's a red flag. You guys know better. And I think we can learn from this. There's one red flag after the other. This has been a colossal waste of taxpayer money and people's efforts and energy and time. And let us not forget that 4 of you voted for the $250,000 for the study, the feasibility study, and then to move on to do the plans, the engineering for this. When you did that, you agreed it was okay to dump into Wakulla Springs and into Spring Creek, as long as this property could take the wastewater. You're okay with it. And I'm glad we moved beyond this, but I think we can learn a lot from this to put our county first. I mean, 4 out of 5 of you agreed that that was okay, basically, when you agreed for the $250,000 study and engineering. So, not to beat anybody up, but this should never have gotten this far. The next developer giveaway by this board, you plan to use the BP funds to subsidize expansion of the sewer system to accommodate new development. The BP funds should benefit the citizens, not once again offset the costs that developers should be paying for. And what about impact fees? Where's that these days? Instead, we raise taxes. So, I ask you all again, who do you represent here? It feels like developers more than the natural environment in Wakulla County and the citizens and the reason that we all live here and moved here. You know, I think you've kind of lost track and forgotten that, I'm afraid. So I hope that this course correction will give you time to think about that and that the golf course turns out to be a good thing. And it looks like it will be. We hope it will be. So thank you for voting for it tonight, and we'll see where it goes. But I hope we can do better next time and not go down this road so far. Thank you.
Perfect timing, David, perfect timing.
All right, that ends our citizens to be heard. Discussion items from commissioners.
I got something. Let's bring this on. Mike, every community traffic safety team meeting, I seem to have a CRTPA meeting. I was wondering if you'd be willing to take over my spot. You know, you got a lot of experience with Sheriff's Park with traffic. I'll do it. Would you do it? I'll make a motion then to Mike's takes over my spot on the community traffic safety team. Do we have a second? What?
How, I was trying to, is that appointed by resolution? I'm trying to,
No, it's appointed by the chairman.
okay, well, maybe.
And it's coming back to the board in December.
I figured we'd go ahead and do it now. Thank you.
It's coming back.
We can make it official.
Well, I remember when I had it changed that the chairman fills vacant positions, right? You can't just arbitrarily say, Wayne, I don't want you on that anymore. I want to be on it. If it's a vacant position, it's your choice. So I want to make it, Mike's on it. Huh?
If you don't want to serve on it anymore, you can make.
I did it for 4 years, I'll do it again. So if you're vacating it, then, and I have the ability to appoint, I'm fine with that, and would not require a vote, correct?
Even better.
Very good.
Chuck Ops, and it's still coming back if,
It'll come
Has a
back.
change of mind in December.
next month, Mike's going, right? All right, perfect.
Who's gonna give me the dates, so?
I don't know if they fixed the road yet or not in the forest. I just figured you might know.
I haven't checked.
Okay.
Anything further?
That's it.
Nothing tonight?
Nothing tonight?
Well, I would, I guess I hadn't even thought about, no, nothing today.
Okay, motion adjourned.
We'll stand adjourned. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
Chuck, you won twice, brother.